Alright, with the beat drop going down, we're here. Remember Me Overwatch Season 8 of the Faceit League here. We'll be playing Liege on the tower. I'm going to get the scores right up here for you. Today we have an interesting match. It is going to be Remember Me versus... Hold on, let me see if I get everything set up again, because I am an NA caster. That's right, Remember Me versus ELMT Dragon. We're going to get that quite up to you on the screen. Starting lineups are as followed. Raza, Neptune, Jericho. That's going to be your standard duo. But we do have Makumi and Nightmare. Makumi, of course, filling in for Sam here for Remember Me. So, Remember Me down player. Makumi being the ultimate flex player here. On the side of ELMT Dragon, you do have Lily, Pinecone, Vesper, Gilgamesh, and 10, of course, being a Lucio, Diva, Sojourn, Vendetta, and a Kiriko. Say that a bit slower there to really pad out the timing. But before we even say any of that, Remember Me has already won the first fight of this match. Of course, getting the first percentages as the point has unlocked going in here. We're going to go over to Raza's POV as he does have 41 to alt charge. You see Nightmare going, actually, my bad, Makumi trying to shut down that angle here. A beautiful rail shot going in, but does not get anything here. Neptune does find Gilgamesh, who's overextended into that fight plan. The Diva taking a bit of an angle here. Remember, you're looking to collapse onto ELMT Dragon's tank as ELMT Dragon is behind. They're going to try to get the Lucio, but that defense matrix from Pinecone, beautifully timed. Raza taking a head off. ELMT Dragon's going to be a bit behind now on players. You see Jericho and Gilgamesh over here taking a 1v1, interrupted quite rudely by Pinecone and the rest of ELMT Dragons. Gilgamesh going deep, getting a nice swing over to Raza, not finding anything. Scratch that, finds two, finds another assist with it on Pinecone. Jericho does trade out Lily here on the side of ELMT Dragon, but they're going to go down quite fast. Neptune's going to be the last to fall here for Remember Me. That's all she wrote. As ELMT Dragon's going to get the first percentage onto the board. We do have our first ultimate of the match. Nightmare does build up to this Kasune Rush. Let's go over to the POV. Gilgamesh does have this Sundering Blade. And honestly, with these two lanes, the only two lanes you can really go through. Nightmare, of course, going to pop this here. Going to be answered by that Sundering Blade. Kind of saw that coming. Blade goes down. Doesn't find any damage. Rod's going to get that OC going with the remaining of the Kasune Rush. Pumping in the damage. A lot of people low on the side of ELMT Dragon. However, kills have not been found. Jericho won with Sundering Blade here. Raza finds a kill, but trades are coming back and forth for both teams right now. Nightmare goes down to a baby Diva. Pinecone coming up big for his team with 3. Raza, Neptune do get this point. Pinecone's going to step on it. Waiting for the respawns, and it's going to be Lily here. Lily coming in with the respawns along with the Kiriko. A beautiful Pentatacon getting 3 here. Jericho capitalizes on the back of Neptune's beautiful play, but Neptune is going down. This is still a dog-eat-dog world here. Of course, Flip never came in. Jericho, Makumi do find the kill onto Gilgamesh. However, the rest of Remember Me took enough lickings and losses here. They cannot proceed to unlock this point. And this point is coming out of control for Remember Me as they do find a pick with Jericho finding Vesper here outside ELMT Dragon. But like I was saying, this point has not flipped in the favor of Remember Me. It is now 82 for ELMT Dragon. Jericho's Sundering Blade gets nothing. Here comes the beat. They're going to try to engage. Makumi going down. Here, ELMT Dragon firmly in the driver's seat is 90% to Remember Me 65. Trades are in the favor of ELMT Dragon. There's a do have a point flip. However, the point is going to only flip for a little while longer as only Neptune is on the point. 71% for Remember Me. Makumi goes in, tries to get some damage onto Vesper. He's going to be the one who's touching, but found out via that engage. 94. The next person to touch is going to be Jericho to step up big here. Does get the step, so the overtime is initiated. 99% for ELMT Dragon. Jericho needs some help Neptune and the rest of the team need to get there. Nightmare going down early. Jericho going to be the next one to go down. Beat good for 3 here. No, good for 2. My bad. Raza falling down. Makumi does get the first beat of his career and Faceit. Does get 2, but his team falls short here in Gardens. 100 to 77. Element Dragon, of course, taking this point. I had a 1-0.
Ready for battle.
Alright, we're heading into Night Market. Remember me looking to bounce back after a, I would say, quite prolonged fight here for the point. And a little shout out to our Twitter if you do want to follow us and get live in-game updates. Do remember to follow us on Remember Me, capital R, capital M, _ Overwatch, all capital. That's enough of that, though. We're going to go into round 2 Night Market. Gonna see a pretty similar composition ran out by Remember Me. Same on the side of Element Dragon. Of course, Element Dragon, a bit more of a known org here. You see Jericho trying to take this coastline, not getting too much. Raza does take a fair bit of damage here. Gilgamesh going over the top, looking for a overhead slice, does not get it. Raza in trouble. 3, ganging up on him. Makumi tries to come back him up, get him out. But it looks like he's only following him back to spawn. Rest Remember Me is fighting in coast. Jericho slashes down, looking for some damage. He knows this fight's lost, just trying to get that trade out. Neptune, of course, going to be able to stabilize in this point as Domina really good at regenerating her shields, however. He's going to be the last to fall on Remember Me, and Element Dragon, of course, is going to get the point cap. Going to get these points ticking. Right now, Pinecone coming up big at 54%, and he's 20-2 on the map here. See, only Nightmare is the only one with their second perk on the side of Remember Me. Raza getting dived deep. Gilgamesh getting kind of greedy. Raza shuts him down, but on the back of Jericho falling here. You can see teams getting a prolonged poke phase here. Makumi getting punished here with the Suzu, with the support. Actually, they do get the Diva out of mech. I do not know how that happened quite, bitch. Gilgamesh do find 2. Jericho trades out. So this is very scrappy, very... I wouldn't even say this is a good fight, as Makumi is going to go down next. Remember Me still has not cleanly taken out this fight. You see the re-engage by the 2 supports and the Vendetta on the side of Element Dragon. Neptune going to be down, and that's going to be all she wrote for Remember Me's attack. Like I said, they need to group up and get these clean fight kills, because they have not been able to do that right now. Element Dragon at 62% and do have ultimates on the board here. If they want, they can very much close this out now. Remember Me is coming up on ult. Nightmare at 91%. Neptune at 2 for his 92 for his Pentagon. But Pinecone with the bomb, 10 with the Kitsune Rush. If they want to go, they can go. And that's exactly what you see them do. The Kitsune Rush, good. Remember Me in a small room. Nightmare goes down. Raza goes down. Jericho and Makumi found out. We gotta start talking about those touches. That was only 1 ult, and Remember Me is still behind, though, on ultimates, as Element Dragon does have 4. Nightmare switching over to it. We have the OC for Vesper. Jericho already going down. I don't think there's gonna be a touch for OT. Remember Me fall quite tragically here on Lijiang Tower. We'll be right back with the next map, of course, so stick around. Alrighty, folks, we are back. Remember Me, of course, going down 1-0 in that series. Gonna look to make a comeback here on Saravasa. Current map bans, hero bans, I mean, not map bans, are as followed. Of course, Element Dragon banning out that Vendetta. Remember Me targeting the Ramatra here. So we'll see how these 2 teams adapt. Right now, we're looking at a comp that Remember Me is just going to roll out of on. I'm more interested to see what Jericho swaps on. So we'll go over to his POV. The Vendetta is banned, so maybe a Reaper, maybe a Venture here, but Venture has been struggling. It does look like the Reaper is out for Remember Me here. We're going to stick onto it. But on the side of Element Dragon, not too much change. The Vendetta, of course, going over to the Tracer. That's going to be Gilgamesh. And Visper going over to the Sojourn. Actually, Pinecone going over to the ball. Goes down low, bubble onto Jericho. He's trying to find the kill on to Visper. Does not get it. Needs backup. That's exactly what he gets with another bubble here. A very interesting little thing that Jericho's standing on. Did that he can stand there. Right now, the damage is all on the side. I say that, but Makumi does go down. Jericho needs some help. Doesn't have the Lucio to speed him around. Nightmare goes down, so remembering no supports. Neptune does get traded out, so that's going to be pretty much all it. Jericho does finally find Vesper here on the side of Element Dragon, but a little too late before the rest of his team goes down. You want to talk about these hit scans? Razba, Vesper right now. Closest 1-2 ults. Jericho nipping at the heels. And Pinecone, of course, with mines that seem to be active 24/7. Makumi in a dangerous little area here, gets isolated. It's just Raza and Makumi in a small little room. Nightmare comes to bail out with the Suzu. Needs the rest of his team to come help. Jericho does get it, but Kunai, I believe, does take him down low along with the slam, kills him. So remember me on the back foot already, losing one, and you see Raza getting chased to the end there, so no DPS on the side. It looks like their supports are running with their tail. Lenny with 2. Pinecone, of course, takes the other one. Lenny looking for that 3-piece, does have to switch for an assist. Jericho does find the Tracer at the end of it, but maybe a little too late, as Element Dragon's at 74% and has not been needed to expend these ultimates. And the ultimate game is something that has ran away from Remember Me, of course, not doing enough damage, not doing enough heals. You can name it here. Just not in favor. The touch does come in. Neptune does get it with it. The OC ripped by Visper. Nightmare, Jericho, everyone goes at it. Jericho with a 4-piece there. A beautiful Death Blossom by Jericho. Gonna put his team back on the map. Of course, it's 99 for Element Dragon. Remember Me does have to make a hell of a comeback. Finally getting some score tick. We're gonna go right back to that. See what that play of the game looks like. Of course, you see the setup. This is where he builds up the Death Blossom on the ball. 94%. TP's in. I want to know how he gets it. That OC is out. He pops it in. A beautiful Death Blossom by Jericho. Cleaning up any resistance here. Of course, we're going to skip ahead there. I skipped a little too much, apparently, because things have happened. Alright. But with that being said, Jericho did only expend ultimate. Makumi is falling behind. Here comes mines here. Raza needs to get out. Neptune eats every single mine on the point like it's candy. Someone gotta tell him not to eat that red. Visper does get the baby diva. Raza popping. The OC trying to get his team out of it. Does get the Kiriko. Does get Gilgamesh on the Tracer. Beat out for Element Dragon. Good for 2. Jericho lost to a Lucio. Everyone put L's in chat for that one. Makumi does have a beat. It looks like Remember Me is going to give this point up. He's the only one here. Beat. Good for 4. That's his best beat yet. Remember Me needs to find these kills. Clear Element Dragon off this point here. So far, the damage is looking good for Remember Me. However, fights can change, especially in this advanced division on a moment's notice. That is talking about which Jericho goes down, but traded out each Sojourn. Nightmare dueling and eventually does fall. Jericho falling down as well on the. And looks like that's going to be all she wrote for Remember Me, as Neptune's going to be the only one left on point. Doesn't even have the remake available, so he's going to be stuck in Baby Diva. It is 99 to 95, so Remember Me did make this competitive on the first point, but it's going to go over to Element Dragon here.
Next flashpoint.
And Element Dragon, going over to Temple here, does have at least point unlock basically secure for them, as 10, their Kiriko, has that Kitsune Rush, and so they have the Go card, they have the Aggress, or the Sustain, really, if you really want to use it like that. But in the Advanced Division, you just want to go, and that's exactly what it is. The Kitsune Rush popped. The only one who can build ult on the side of Remember Me is Jericho. Has forever. Raza does go down. Neptune does have the bomb, but after losing Raza here, I'm pretty sure you just want to kite that out. And of course, Element Dragon's going to get the point flip. Jericho does have this pulse bomb. We're going to go over to a Jericho POV, see how he does. Ideally, you would want to get a target like Whisper or like the Lucio. However, those are very difficult targets, and talking about eating candy right now, Jericho eats a mine just for fun, I guess. Of course, there's some beautifully placed mines. Everyone into the pit, I guess, as Neptune jumps into the pit. Linny, on the side of Element Dragon, dies to the bomb, but it looks like he was jumping into the pit to get cover? So an interesting little exchange there. Jericho, of course, still the only one with a pulse bomb. We're going to go over to his POV. Of course, like I said, looking for it. But Element Dragon does have the beat. They do have the OC, and they do have the pulse bomb. Raza does find it, so that ult is immediately off the board here. Remember me, up 5 players to 4. They can go. However, Raza goes down. Whisper pops the OC, finds Makumi at the end of it. Finds Nightmare. That's going to be a 3-piece for him. Enough damage done. Neptune does find the Lucio on the side, but a little too late. Remember me, all fall down here. They're not going to remember that one in the morning. Looks like Element Dragon going to go up 2-0 in this, and we're going to head to final point here in Saravasa. Right now favoring heavily on the side of Element Dragon here. We're going to head over to Garden. Here's the stat board real quick. Pinecone yet to join the Death Club. So he's on a league of his own. Similar situation coming here. Both Tracers with Pulse Bombs. However, it is a beat for a rush. Raza actually did build up his OC now. Makumi can build up a beat here. So remember me right now, do have some cards in their hand, and if they want to go, they could. But with Makumi off the board, they're down to support. They Kitsune rush. Lucio, Ajax, no, Ajax, yeah, I forgot. Lucio is a tactician now, so he does get that 25% ult storage. A bit strange there. Nightmare, of course, and Neptune do get some picks off here, so it looks like Remember just going to take this point. I say that as Whisper and Linny here are at a great angle. Jericho takes that 1v3 and dies for it. Gotta start questioning why he's doing that. But they do get the point, so Remember is on the board right now at 12% and counting. The ball is going to engage with mines here. It's going to clear Remember off the board, and you see Raza getting attacked. And of course, because for some reason, Ball wasn't annoying enough with that perk that he does have, I believe, can spread extra mines. You see, that's where he gets a second set of minefields, which is, I think, weird. Neptune, of course, popping up. His bomb doesn't get it. Jericho's pulse bomb going wide does not get any value. Neptune, of course, out of mech again and then killed. So Remember he's going to have to fall back, especially as Makumi takes another rail shot. He does have, I believe this is his second beat of the game. Can't fault him too much as he is a flex DPS player. At this point, he should be a flex player for all the roles he's played. Nightmare is going to go over to the Cat. An interesting pick. Both Tracers traded out here. But right now, Cat, of course, got those nerfs. Not as good. Neptune's already out of mech. Studio Rush and OC. That's a weird combination, especially when you're up and the Baby Diva's the only one there. Raza going to go down to Pinecone, who, like I want to say, folks, still has not died. He's 25-0 on this season. Who's going to be a touch? Makumi looking for it. Ball slam. Denies it. Makumi, of course, headshotted. It is 99% for Element Dragon. Saravasa not looking the way of Remember Me here. And they're gonna put down the Cat here, and that's gonna be all she wrote for Remember Me. 3-0 on Saravasa. We'll catch you right after this next intermission. See if Remember Me can bring it back here. Alright, with the beat held low, we're on Midtown in New York, the city of dreams. If you're a Remember Me fan, you're hoping for this dream of a reverse sweep to start here. Remember Me, of course, going down 2-0 and actually 3-0 on the last map, their map pick of Saravasa. We're going to see a composition that they have been running in scrims, and sometimes No, they haven't done it in an official map, as this is the first match. Mind me, it is a spoiler. I actually didn't play their last match. We'll get into the backstory behind that either way. But we see a Ilari Bap. Of course, if Sam was here, he would be playing it. And Makumi doing a good cosplay of Sam right now in the Transformers pink skin. But on the opposite side, we see an interesting little composition here. It is a Mauga comp. Haven't seen Mauga comp too often here, with the Gilgamesh, of course, going on to the Vendetta, Kiriko, and Lucio for the rest of it. Jericho, right now, getting dove by 4. Neptune goes into gas station trying to find Gilgamesh, but is immediately stomped on the head. Beautiful lamp comes out by Nightmare, doesn't get it. Jericho gets 2, however, so a tank trade. Raza finds Gilgamesh, so it's going to be only tank left. Goes back in, Jericho 1. 10, the Kiriko on the side. Trying to get out. Jericho right now putting his team on the back. Raza eventually puts 10 down. Is the only reason Pinecone is still up. And the first time in 2 maps, Pinecone has received a death, everyone. That is right, Pinecone has died. But you can see the damage done. The only one comparable right now is Raza. Speaking of which, because of all the damage that was done, Pinecone's is sitting there quite pretty at 61%. We're going to go over to Raza right now, is trying to poke down main. Almost to that overclock. You see Gilgamesh going down. Does get him the overside head. The slam is good. Immortality field also saves Raza going down super low. Neptune needs some healing. Maybe overextends a little bit there. Does get out. Raza pops the Sojourn, so the good source of the damage is out. You see Gilgamesh and Linny here on the side of Element Dragon trying to get this fire station, but Jericho stands strong at their gates and says, no, this is my house. Speaking of which, Raza again gets the Lucio on the side of Element Dragon. Not a clean fight. Jericho does go down, but Neptune trades out Pinecone, so yes, Pinecone has had 200% more deaths than he has in the last map. I just think that's a funny little statistic there for you. For the stat nerds out there. And now we're coming up to alt fight. Of course, Pinecone has this. Here comes the sun. Makumi, I guess, doesn't know that you can't shoot through a shield there. Gilgamesh finding Raza and a bunch of deployables. However, Memory is up. Does find it. Neptune going down. Pinecone standing as a wall of health. It is just here is 2 DPS and no, it's 1 DPS and 2 supports, and it is the opposite. It is a tank and a support and DPS on the side for Element Dragons. However, the rest of them are back. Neptune taking a long way. Raza popping the OC. The beat good for 2 on the side of Element Dragons here. Raza hunting down that Vendetta, does not get it. Hunting down anything, knows both the players are low. Jericho finds 1, Neptune and Raza also finding theirs. So remember me doing a surprisingly good hold here, as Pinecone does get Makumi and Nightmare though. But right now, remember me in a good spot. Neptune with ult, Jericho of course with that Sundering Blade. Pinecone has built up enough damage though that maybe you'll see in mid-fight a cage being deployed. Vesper, 95 and Sundering Blade is available for Element Dragon. Deployables right now dead. Raza gets Gilgamesh before his backline is really in trouble. Neptune needs some healing as you see a lot of damage pumped into him by that Mauga. Talking of which, low. OC pop for Vesper. Jericho pops the Sundering Blade. Looking to get something. I'm pretty sure throws a lot of that damage into the Mauga. Cage out. Only gets Neptune. That's just going to limit his mobility here. No, I'm scratching it. He gets Makumi as well. Ooh, Makumi, the Sundering Blade found. So this is a really dog fight. Raza Gilgamesh trade out. So it is Akiri, Lucio, Sojourn on the side of Element Dragon versus Neptune, who's in Annihilation Field, holding his arms, but it is not going to be enough. Remember, he gives up 1 tick. I do not think they'll go for the re-engage. Scratch that. Jericho does go for the re-engage. Trying to make sure his teammates still in this, but they do eventually give up point. Remember, by pushing that to overtime and looking quite strong in the comparison to last map. However, Makumi's the only one with the ult. Raza coming up at 74%. to this OC. So they can come off quite strong here at Remember Me with these ults here. We're going to go into Makumi as he has the Sun. Did not have a successful Sun last time, so we'll see how he does here. Pinecone making a switch from the Mauga over to the Domina. Apologies for that. Here comes the Sun. Of course, Rail Shot only finds one here over to it. Doesn't get... Ooh, Makumi with the 2-piece with that Sun here. Isn't enough for his team to hold that defense. It is. As the rest Remember Me take up these clean kills here. Sorry about that, just got a text message. But remember, it did spend big. It did throw that Sun. Raza did throw that OC. If Element Dragon wants, they could go with this beat engage. Nightmare could answer with a window, but that's going to be built up mid-fight here. Here comes the beat, good for 4, and you do see the engage. Raza going to be the first one to go down here. Nightmare in a difficult situation as Jericho is going to be the next one to go down. Looks like they're going to die on point here, just trying to stall out some time. There's 40 seconds left on the clock for this defense on point 2. But which, right now, Element Dragon does have the ults to push this through. Pinecone going to build that Panopticon mid-fight here. Vesper, of course, has that OC and the Blizzard. Remember, you do have to be tracking that. And that's a big ult. They could isolate Neptune without that Kiriko. But here it comes. We're going to be doing the Blizzard. We're going to do the OC. We're going to do the window. Vesper has not found anything. Pinecone blown up immediately via that window. However, Jericho does lose the fight to a Lucio. Blizzard did not get anything. Panopticon not on the board. Looks like Remember Me managing to sneak this one out. I could be talking too soon. Raza does get 10, so it's just a Lucio Sojourn on the side. But that looks like what she wrote as Neptune pops the Annihilation. Remember Me get the stop before third point here.
Score 0.
Truth be told, that was a sloppy fight for Element Dragon. Really broke down in the middle of that. And that was allowed Remember Me to get it. Also, a good focus fire onto Pinecone really burst him down. So this is very doable for Remember Me. They just got to break this first point hold. And then they're off to the races.
Ready for battle.
Alright. Looks like both teams gonna go to almost a mirror of the comps, except we do have Jericho still on that Vendetta, Gilgamesh on the opposite side for Element Dragon.
Greetings.
For Element Dragon, I heard the piano in the background. Didn't know that existed. But Gilgamesh on the May, of course we did see it summit. We didn't see too much action from it, so you're gonna hope a little more. The support lines, however, you see Linny going over to the Illaris. It's the first time they've been out of the Lucio. So we'll see how this operates. Remember, we do have to be careful of this wall. You know, they also have to be worried about this shield that Pinecone can throw. You see Neptune stepping up forward, does get that pylon out. However, Makumi's pylon is going to go next. And it looks like, remember, he's going to try to make a rotation through right alley. However, it is a slow rotation, and the isolation comes out. Makumi's stuck in the back line here. Nightmare going to try to bail him out. Does not get it. Neptune has to. And it looks like they're going to commit fully to that side alley sweep. Jericho almost isolated via that wall, but you saw that rotation. That rotation was slow, it was sloppy. Raza, of course, going down on the fire station, but that rotation being slow and sloppy is what isolates Makumi. I don't know if they were not on the same page. Jericho does find one on this fight. Neptune full health and just going to get ran down here at the end. but not a very good rotation by Remember Me. Does end their first attack. Here, we're gonna give some love over to the tank player on the side of Remember Me. Gonna go over to Neptune. If you do want to see any of Neptune's gameplay, of course, he does stream every once in a while at Coach_Neptune over on Twitch. I believe I have that correctly. Right now, it's 67% towards Annihilation, and you see this rotation coming back on site. And again, isolation from the wall. Right now, Gilgamesh on this main is a standout player. Isolating a support and killing them. Remember Me, if they want to commit this, they need some speed. They could go to a Juno. Or, if they don't want it, they can sit, slowly work their way through this mid-short. But that's something they're going to have to figure out, because this is the second time a support has been isolated and killed via the wall. But other than that, we got to talk about how the supports are going to make them Remember Me survive through this. As Element Dragon coming up with 3 ults, Linny, of course, going to be able to build the ult mid-fight here, so almost 4. That being Sun, Panopticon, May Blizzard, and this. Panopticon good for 3, gets Nightmare and Makumi. And the damage is done as Nightmare goes down. Neptune, of course, going down with the hit. Pinecone looking for his 3-piece here. Raza getting isolated. The wall was good, blocking him going to spawn door, and Vesper gets the shot. So only 1 ult used there. Remember Me does have 3. They have the Annihilation. Raza with this OC. Nightmare with this window. We're going to go over the Raza POV. He's going to be the last one in this fight. But remember, it's just positioning for this mid-game. Jericho peeks for just a second, dies. Blizzard out. It looks like it got Neptune. He's in trouble, needs help, dies. The Immortality Field a bit short there. Visper getting Jericho. And with 50 seconds left on the clock, and them only having to use 1 ultimate here, Remember Me on the back foot. It's going to be some heroic plays that we're going to need to see from Raza and Nightmare. Makumi, of course, could build this Sun in mid-fight. Also do some great things. We saw he can get a 2-piece for the last one. Jericho does have a chance to build Sundering Blade here. However, right now his engages have been kind of soft, if I'm not going to lie. You see, they're no longer going through that alleyway. Neptune steps up, trying to find an OC out for Raza. With a beautiful window, gets a collateral here. Makumi's Sun going wide. Neptune goes down, though. Remember, he has lost fights like this. It is just Pinecone versus 3 here for Element Dragon. And it looks like Remember Me is going to unlock this point after a beautiful combination via Raza and Nightmare. That window, of course, amplifying the OC, and Raza ripping through 2.
Stop the payload.
Only wish that man finished his Team Mexico application. You could be seeing him on the Mexico national team, but there's a lot of great hit scans on Team Mexico, so be a difficult fight for him. Other than that, Jericho's the only one with ultimates remaining for Remember Me. On the side of Element Dragon, of course, you do have 3. Linny still has the Sun. Pinecone can build up to this Panopticon. And what happened to Neptune's health? Neptune just disappeared. Vesper, of course, popped the OC, trying to get some kills here. Doesn't get too much. Jericho looks like he's going to fall if he's not careful. Goes for that overhead slice. Ooh, gets out just before the wall, so Jericho's all fine and dandy. There's 1:30 left on the clock here for Remember to get it. Jericho sees Gilgamesh. Here comes the Sun by Linny. He fires it. I think it only gets Jericho. Nope, scratch that. It does proc onto Neptune, but I mean, with his pummel form, what's the point? He's not going to die. Does get the Immortality Field out, though, from Nightmare. That's not going to be, and you see, without another option there, Neptune just gets kind of bullied into the corner and dies. Raza with a late death. It's going to catch the same respawn as late as Neptune. So Remember Me, now sitting in a minute. Jericho still yet to use his first ultimate of the game, so we're going to go over to him. No pressure, of course. Nightmare did build up another window. Raza hasn't built the next OC up, so we don't run to see any super cool heroic collaterals here. But the window is out. Not a lot of damage, not a lot of use for that window, but does give him the back up. You see Jericho going on to the Illari here. Out. Nightmare is going to go down. Makumi following, so there's going to be no support for Remember Me. 25 seconds left. Goes for that overside slice, and then Jericho goes for the graveyard with no head to find. Neptune. Oh my, you would love to see him hold that a little longer here. There's still 10 seconds left on the clock. They still have that touch. Neptune going over to it. You see Nightmare holding that, trying to get... Ooh, the cat went for the touch. Doesn't get it. The shutdown via the window, and that's all she wrote for Remember Me. 3-0 against Element Dragon here. Let's get those score up. It is a 3-0 against Element Dragon here. And since we are recording this in the future, I can tell you what happened. Ohio State versus Remember Me. Ohio State did unfortunately get an FF there. Did not show up to the match. Remember Me, next game is going to be this Monday, 6 o'clock PST. I'm not going to do any Eastern time, but it is 9 p.m. They're going to be facing Leica Academy. That is a super tough opponent. But that would put Remember Me at 1-2 if they do win against the Element Leica. But besides that, that is in the future. And if you want to see anything in the future, please follow the channel or drop a sub. If you didn't catch any of this live, you can also find it on the YouTubes there. We'll be posting everything for Season 8 of Faceit on there. Other than that, have a good night, everyone.